Good evening, everybody. Today on Within the Cauldron Globe, we are going to be talking to a guest, and also Nick and I will be discussing about Tarot Talk. So, Nick, won't you come up here with me?
How's it going, guys?
Ah, I'm doing pretty good. Tonight we're supposed to have four readers that has been within the Cauldron Facebook group for a long time that do allow to read for the group because we know the good. We do screen our readers to make sure they're good on reading for within the Cauldron members. Um, Three of them could not show up tonight because of family issues and illness. So we got Tiffany. Tiffany, you want to come on up, please?
Hi, can you hear me?
Oh, hi. Tiffany has is like another kid of mine. Her and her husband, they both are dear to our family. So she's like my third and fourth kid because her and her husband. So, but Tiffany, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We appreciate
Absolutely.
you very much for doing so. So, what we're going to do is we are going to start out with the first question here. Okay. So the first question is, what type of cards do you prefer to read and why? Um, I I guess I'm kind of like a stuck in the mud. I like to read Rider Waite. I have read those cards for over 35 years, and I do like other cards, but I always go back to them. They just seem to really correspond with me, and I can read them without the book and everything, and I like that. That's my choice. Nick, how about you?
So I also read Rider Waite, as well as I have a couple Oracle decks, and but my absolute favorite, and I've been stuck on this lately, is Cartomancy, just straight playing cards.
Mhm.
Uh, but this is the Forhoxa deck, absolutely gorgeous. It's based off of Swedish land spirits, so they are Swedish fairies, and they are absolutely gorgeous.
Awesome.
Give me a
Tip,
set
how about you?
of cards. Ah, because I also like Rider Waite for the same
Yay.
reason. For the same reason that Chrissy stated, they're the cards that I first learned on. So they are the cards whose definitions or interpretations I have memorized. Um, And when I do cartomancy myself, it's because there's no visual representation on the playing cards, so you got to draw from a well of knowledge somewhere. But if
Mhm.
I'm not using Rider Waite, I prefer to use cards that are very expressive. So my favorite non-Rider Waite deck is the Everyday Witches deck,
Oh,
and
cool.
the reason I like it so much is because it gives you a very clear sense of what's going on in the card. You can literally read the picture and devise a definition, which when you're an intuitive tarot reader coming up with your own definitions for cards, it's kind of what you do. So
Very true. Nick, give us the next question, please.
Yeah. What spread do you like best? Oof. So you're gonna probably hate me for this. My favorite tarot spread is the three card pull. Past, present, future, problem, obstacle, solution. It's universal. It's straightforward, and I am bad at tarot. I won't lie.
Hey,
So
you're
I stick
honest.
with the simple spread.
oh, who's next?
That's you, Tiff.
Okay, that's me. That's me. Okay. So my favorite spread is no spread. I like
Ooh.
I like to just pull the cards when people ask a question. I'll just pull and let whatever cards pop out,
Mhm.
and then I'll put those cards together and I'll make a story. Um, I go by my intuition. If I feel like something's happened in the past or is happening in the future, that's where I let my intuition guide me on that. I've been reading tarot since I was 11, and I'm 38 now. So it it's not that I dislike spreads. I've gotten so comfortable with my deck, and I'm a little lazy in my old age that I
Old
prefer.
age.
I I prefer to just let the cards speak for themselves. That way, I don't have to like go back to the paper or the book and say, okay, this card means this card means that. Like, I just like to throw them out there and get one big story.
I really like that. I really like doing that. Yeah. Um, Mine is usually just mostly like 3 card draw each day. Some days I don't do that because sometimes a 3 card just doesn't get it for just every day. So I like doing just like Tiff does. I just do like a 1 card. That wherever it comes up, and I just do the best way I can to interpret it, and that's it. Um, there's a lot of spreads though out there. So many spreads. Um, if you are in the group within the Cardin, we do have some spreads that our members have posted that you can always take a look at too as well. Okay, Tiff, you got the next question, hon.
Okay. The next question is, how do you prepare yourself when you are doing a reading? Okay. So, what I do before a reading is I just sit, close my eyes, focus on my breathing, clear my mind, and then I wait for a vision of the goddess to pop into my mind. As soon as I get that vision, that's like my green light. I say my prayer. I ask the mother goddess to please enter into the reading to keep out any chaotic forces that might seek to disrupt or disturb the message, and
Mhm.
to let all messages be of her highest universal truth. The reason I throw universal in there is because I'm a tarot tuber. I do, yeah, I do general readings. So I need my readings to appeal to the vast majority of people who are going to watch me. So I ask for the highest universal truth to come out, and then I go.
Pretty awesome. What I do is, well, hang on, let me get this big baby here. Okay. So I have 2 of these. One is very clear. These are my crystal that I put in my hands and I meditate on what the person wants. And then when I do that, then I go ahead and do the spread, and then I take the card and I put it against my third eye. I close my eyes and I try to get a connection to that person. Before I do all this, I do meditate and I do anoint myself. And along with the meditation, I'm holding my crystal all along. And I also have 13 crystals that I use to put around my spread. So I make sure I'm getting a really deep connection to the reader or to the person I'm reading to.
I like that. I especially like the third eye part where you put the card up. So let me ask you a quick question. You're
Mhm.
sitting with the person, you shuffle, and a card comes out. And does that card like represent the reader then?
I put that card onto the side
Okay.
because that card, if it's coming out of the deck, that is like the gods are telling you, you need to read that card to that person.
Gotcha.
So sometimes I do it before, sometimes I do it after. It really depends on the person that I'm reading to. If they want to know what it is now, or if they want to know after I do the spread.
Gotcha. Okay.
How about you, Nick?
So for me, I also line my space with crystals when I do work. I use topaz, so I use this here, and that sits between me and my client. And then I keep a chunk of black tourmaline under my chair just to keep any funk away. And I will start pull my cards out of their boxer bag, knock 3 times on them, or blow on the cards, and then I shuffle and cut 3 ways, have them pick top, middle, bottom, go from there. And then after I cleanse the space, if it's a really, really intense reading, I may put like Florida water on my hands and the back of my neck just to make sure that I get all of that off.
Mhm.
Um, and then I pick up the cards as I read them. So I'm physically reading the card, but also like tapping into the energy to get that intuitive message as well to see like what's the message coming through for them with it. Um, and also like you, when I'm shuffling, if I have cards fly, those take priority too. So those are either an additional message for the person or it is like context for the cards. There may be clarifying cards that jump out.
Cool. Um, we got Dothos who has a crush or who's saying that he rubbed his hands together with psychic vision oil before shuffling. Yeah, you can do that most definitely. And he's been using the Dragon Terror since 1990. Dragon Terror is very good. I like that deck too. I have worked with that deck in the past. My oldest son, that was his first Terror deck. It was a Dragon deck. Okay, so back to the questions. Um,
That.
what is the what is the most misunderstood card? Ah, I think we may all agree on this one. I don't know. Um, I think the death card is very misunderstood. When you read for somebody and you see the death card, they automatically think, "Oh, I'm going to die," or "Somebody's going to die." Um, and I always tell them, "No, no, no, no. It's about change. Something's going to be changing." Um, how about you, Tiff?
Okay, so I think the most misunderstood card is probably the Four of Swords.
Hmm, good
Uh,
choice.
because people look at it. Oh, this is a holographic one. This is my favorite deck. But anyway, if you can see, it's a woman on the bed with four swords, and people often think that this card portends doom, right? Now, it does talk about a potentially lengthy illness, but not a terminal illness. It's not a card of death, like of literal physical death.
Mm-hmm.
When this card pops up, it's more of a warning, like, hey, you're exhausted, or there's something you need to get checked out, maybe at a doctor or something like that. Something's going to lay you on your butt, but it's not terminal. It's not, you will survive. You will recover.
Right.
So
How
that's
about you, Nick?
I'm gonna go with the devil card. People think it's scary. It's got a big Satan on it, and
Mhm.
it's not an evil card. It's a card about control and addictions and embracing what you have, kind of giving you that reminder of, hey, you're stuck in a pattern and it's not serving you right now. You should look at fixing that. It's not like, you know, if you're reading for somebody, it's not like the person you're reading for is evil, or if they're asking about a love reading, your partner's not the devil, maybe. But it's a card about control and a lot of addictions and things like that, where
Mhm.
the, the only one we didn't cover though, the other one that I think is misconstrued as well as the tower card.
Oh yes,
Because
that one too.
while drastic change is scary and it will upheave you. You have to blow the building up and clear the road to build something new. So while it's scary in the short term, in the long term, it's a fantastic card. But it just sucks getting through it.
um, let's see. Next question is, does that go back to me or Nick? Is that your
It'd be
question?
me.
Okay,
Be
go
me.
ahead.
What tarot card is the most powerful? It depends on what you mean by powerful. If you mean as a profound sense of change for somebody, or if you mean in spell work. Because if we're going with for a profound sense of change, I'm gonna go with the Tower card. Because it is a huge, immediate, change is coming, you will not stop it.
Mm-hmm.
If we're going for spell work, I really like the Justice card. And it's very, very good at helping you keep the balance with things, as well as serving that plate of, I guess, which people might more hey, things aren't going right, I need to fix it, or somebody's done me wrong and I need to fix it.
True. True. How about you, Tiff?
So I chose the Four of Wands. And the reason I chose the Four of Wands is because to me, the Four of Wands embodies the idea of manifestation, positive thinking, thinking things into your existence. Because if you look, you see, this can also be like a card of marriages and weddings and homecomings and whatnot
Right.
on the surface. But if you see with this card, you're walking into a celebration, you have arrived with this card, you've got your happy outcome with the Four of Wands. It's right there. It what you want is embracing you, right? Your best life is embracing you. So by meditating on the Four of Wands, carrying around the Four of Wands, thinking about that energy, you are reminded that key rule of manifestation, which is to think like you already have it.
Mm-hmm.
And in the Four of Wands, you do in fact have it. You know what I'm getting at? So
Yes.
I think this is a powerful card because I think it embodies manifestation.
Right. I agree. For me, oh wow, I have two of them really. Um, I have to say the High Priestess card, and it's kind of like it's mystery, intuition, and a lot of people don't listen to their intuition, or they don't get the mysteries that they're trying to look for. So I think that card is pretty important too as well. Another one that I like you guys haven't mentioned is the Fool. You
Hmm.
know, um, it also has to do with risk taking, and a lot of people doesn't like to take risk. So if you say something that this card represents risk taking, they kind of for a change, they kind of oh, maybe I should go ahead and do that, get that job or something. So I do like that card because it makes people think on that. Um, Tiffany, I guess we're up with you, hon.
Okay. My phone keeps going dark on me. All right.
Oh,
So powerful. Number 6, right?
yep. Mm-hmm.
What is the most valuable tarot card? Okay. So I went purely on monetary value when I heard that. I thought dollar bill, y'all. So I did. So I went with it was a toss up between the 10 of Pentacles and the Ace of Pentacles, and I went with the 10 of Pentacles. The 10 of Pentacles is the most valuable card because the 10 of Pentacles represents generational wealth.
Mhm.
It represents foundational wealth. The Ace
Right.
of Pentacles, um, for me, has more of like a windfall energy, which is
Mhm.
nice. Like you come into some money, that's always nice. But with the Ten of Pentacles, this is like old money vibes. This is like money, you've got money to pass down through the generations now type
Mhm.
of vibe. So I went with Ten of Pentacles for sure. Carry this one around, meditate on this one, and see if you can bring that income into your life.
I actually just have to agree with that because that's the card that I chose too was the Ten of Pentacles.
Is it really?
That is so strange. That is so strange. I mean, that
Mhm.
we chose that same card, mostly for the same reason. You know, I do, but all the cards are powerful. I mean, they all got power behind them. But the Ten of Pentacles does have that value to it.
Mhm.
That I think when you, especially if it's with other cards of you that kind of comes together,
Yes.
it can really put things in perspective of the person you're reading to. How about you, Nick?
I'm going to defer a little bit. I'm going with if it will show up, the Wheel of Fortune.
Ooh, nice.
So it's associated with luck and like a divine
Mhm.
balance and spiritual and personal growth.
Yeah.
So I think that those are all amazing things that we all need in our life. We all need a little bit of luck. We all need to like keep growing spiritually, and we all need a good balance of like
Yes.
everything, like life, work, like home, everything. We can all use a little bit of order sometimes.
Mhm.
That's true. Can you imagine if you do a reading for somebody and they have all those value cards lined up? I mean, it'd be like, oh my God, I want your life, maybe.
Mhm.
Um, so our next question is, how do we get to know our decks? Um, Very good question because being a high priestess of a coven, when we start on divination, this comes up a lot. How do I get to know my deck? Um, my go-to is, and I always stick to this to the day I die, is to first bless your cards and carry them with you. Sleep with them, carry them in your back pocket or purse or whatever in your car. Just make sure they're with you for a good 3 days. That's just the best that I can tell you on how you can do that. I mean, to me, sleeping with the cards is very important because it gets to know yourself, your aura, and everything. So that's how I tell everybody. How about you, whoever, Nick?
So for me, one of the shops here in town has so every deck that they sell, they have a demo deck, and you can request to see the demo decks. So
Mhm.
if I find one that's interesting, I will go look through the cards, shuffle them, see what they feel like, see what the images are, and if I like that, then I will purchase the deck, and then starts the whole like get to know the cards process. I will carry them either with me, like in my backpack,
Mhm.
for about a week, or I'll sleep with them under my pillow, depending on what's going on. And then I will do an interview spread with the deck where I will lay out 4 cards and kind of see like what the personality of the deck is like and what they want to work with me for,
Mhm.
and kind of get a that idea of like what the deck is about for me, because everybody's deck's going to read differently, and even the same decks won't read the same
Mhm.
between 2 people. And I
Yes.
have had a deck that I had to retire from reading for the people because I made somebody cry.
Oh my
And
God.
it was the cards, and they just needed to roast this lady, and I don't know, she was just ignoring the messages she was getting, and You needed it real blunt like sandpaper, but they've just historically been really mean cards. So I don't read for other people with them anymore because they hurt people's feelings.
Oh my. I never heard that before, but yeah, I guess I can. I have some stories about that too, that in this the questions. I have a story to tell you. How about you,
They-
Tiff?
So the first thing I do when I get a new deck is I sit down with it, I open it up, open the box, and I go through every card one by one. And I take the time, I take a moment to look at it, study it, get a feel for it, and then it's on to the next, on to the next, on to the next. And I just do that as many times. Sometimes I'll just do that randomly to get in touch with my decks. Um, yeah, I go through and I study each card individually, get a feel for it, like you all say. I don't really, I carry them around to do readings. I don't sleep with my decks under my pillow. I hadn't heard that, but I do have them by my bed, so maybe that's a bit of good feng shui.
Yeah.
But yeah, just the way to get to know your deck is to just sit down and actually, in my humble opinion, sit down and study it. Like go through all 78 cards one by
Yep.
one, multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, then and the best way to get to know your deck, your cards, is to play with them.
Yep.
So dive right in. Once you've gone through them a couple of times, you kind of got the imagery in your head, then bust them out and just start playing with them. Do as many readings as you want to with them.
Yeah.
That's to me, I think, the best way to get to know your deck.
Yeah. To add to that too, that's what we also tell our students too, is to take each card, read what the card means in the book, and then put up to your third eye and meditate on that card, what that card actually does mean for you to tell your readers or your the people you're reading for. So yeah, very good tip. Um, Darthos says, I like to do read the card, then read the book approach. Yep, yep, that's a good way to
Hmm,
do it too as well. Um, who has the next question?
believe that is me.
Okay.
How did you discover tarot? Ooh, um, I was probably 13, and one of my friends, their parents were Wiccan, and I was hanging out over at their house, and they asked if they could do a tarot reading for me. And I had no idea what it was. And I just thought they were weird hippie people. And I was like, okay, cool, we did it. And I was like, I thought it was a little corny at first, but a couple months later, I'm sitting there like, God, that was really accurate. What the hell? Where do you get those? And then I see an ad on late night TV from my local metaphysical shop had just relocated, and I begged my mom to drive me there over the weekend and picked up a tarot deck, and I've been doing it now for 18 years.
Cool. How about you, Tiff?
I was 11 when my best friend Callie, Chrissy knows Callie.
I know Callie, yeah.
um, when my friend Callie gave me my first tarot reading at 11 years old. So, like Nick, I had no idea what the tarot cards were or what they were all about. That same day, she gave me a deck that I wish to the goddess that I still had. It was a legit beginner's deck, meaning it had the interpretations printed on the cards themselves, both upright and reverse. So you didn't have to break your stride flipping to a book, flipping back and forth from your deck to your book, from a deck to a book. They had the interpretations right there on the card, and they were big. These big orange cards with a purple onks on them was the back art. Yeah, orange cards with purple onks. And they're very colorful, and the pictures were nice and big so you could see all the detail. and I just took those cards home. I had to hide them from my parents because my parents were very Christian and they would not have them. So I had
Right.
to hide them. And then I just played with those cards.
You'll be happy to know that they started making those again.
What are they called? Because she didn't give
It's
me the box, she just gave me the deck.
it's the learning tarot deck. Like
Of course it is. The Learning Tarot deck.
there's several of them now in different styles, but it's I think there's also tarot for beginners. And
Yeah.
the picture on the card is smaller. It's got your info on the top and the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
On the actual cards themselves, there's a lot of variations. And they're I got one of those for my brother-in-law because he's 17, has been interested in the craft, and I've been slowly teaching him things.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted to learn how to do tarot. So it's like, I'll be honest, I'm really bad at them. But this will be better because it tells you what the cards mean, and then if you start with Rider Waite, you can read any deck.
Right.
And then I've heard if you have issues reading Rider Waite, try Lehrman decks. The imagery is more associated with like scrying and tea reading, and it's easier for some people's brains. So if you're really bad at tarot, try Lehrman, which is another type of tarot deck, before you jump into an oracle deck where you have to memorize every card regardless, and they're unique to the different decks.
I started my kids out on those decks that you're talking about, just to help them
There
along.
used to be a Rider
When,
Waite deck that was
Yeah,
that way.
that's what he was talking about. Yeah. Um, how did I discover? I guess I didn't. I mean, to be honest, I guess um, I was just in a store and saw them. It's like, oh, I could use this. I can try to learn this, and I just did. So I guess the gods just kind of said, "Hey, you deck, read them, get to know them." So that's pretty much how I discovered. They just went to the store and bought them. I mean, I have readings done on me. When you call in the 800 number and stuff, and everything. I was just, I don't know, infatuated with it. That's it. Um, Let me see. Our next question is, what is your favorite card?
One that says I'm gonna get laid.
The Temperance. Well, I have a lot of favorite cards. This is really hard. The Temperance card is a good one. I think it's probably one of my favorite because to me, it's telling somebody to be themselves, um, to balance themselves with the universe. And, I like that card because of the balance, becoming yourself. Um, so, yeah, I would say the Temperance. How about you, Tiff?
So I went with the Death card.
Ah,
I love the Death card. Whenever I see the Death card, I know that stuff is getting moved out. Things that are no longer serving me are dying off, getting washed away,
mhm.
getting removed from my life, and not just temporarily, permanently. Everything that does not serve me is getting permanently removed, and that there is great change on the horizon. The other card I like almost as much as Death is the Tower card. Either one. When I see the Tower card, I'm like, all right, let's burn it all down. It's not working anymore. And when you're stuck in a rut, sometimes that sudden upheaval is exactly what you need to get you feeling like yourself again. But yeah, I went with the Death card though, because the Death card to me, it just the finality of it. Like, you are done with this whatever you're asking about, whatever you're concerned about, it's dead to you.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. This
Oh,
is this was a very hard question because
yeah, what?
there's so many cards that's in the deck that you like. So,
Mhm.
how about you, Nick? You're on, Nick.
Yep. I'm gonna go with the Justice Code and go in
Ooh.
focus.
Yep.
And my Justice card is a antlered woman with two doors. We've got a purple door and a red door. They're both covered with swords. She has a snake on her lap, and she's standing in front of somebody sitting. And it's the choice is yours, but you won't know it's behind the door until you get through it. So it's not up to us to decide what our justice is. It's up to fate, which I think is a very interesting play on the card, and I love the mythos behind how they did it in this deck, where it's not Lady Justice with the scales. It's you're not like adding more to one side of the scale to tip the balance. It's just blind fate.
Yeah.
It's not up to you to decide what somebody's punishment is. It's up to the universe or whoever's behind it.
And Dartho, he says the magician. Yeah. That's a good card too. Like I said, there's
Mhm.
so many good cards in deck that you
They're
would
all good cards.
yeah,
They're
they
all
are
good
good cards.
lessons.
I think it's just a way as I guess as a reader, you think they're good cards. But for those people that you read for, they get panicky, they get excited, they get scared. But
Oh yeah. The
yeah.
last reading I did was the Death card, the Tower card, and the Ten of Swords, and I was like, I'm so sorry, but your entire life is about to get really, really rough. You will
Right.
survive. You will come out stronger, but have grace for yourself, have some
Yeah.
patience, and buy some snacks because it's gonna be a bumpy ride.
Tip number 10. What kind of question is that?
What do you think is the best use for tarot? Prediction, guidance, self help? So I think the best use for tarot is for channeling higher powers.
Hmm.
So I guess I'm going to go with guidance on that. You can use tarot to channel your deities. You can use tarot to channel your higher self. You can use tarot to channel angels. You can use tarot to channel demons.
Hmm.
Um, you can use tarot to channel your ancestors. In fact, I have my second favorite deck that I own actually isn't a tarot deck at all. It is a deck that I made myself out of just some basic index cards, really.
Oh,
I just free associated words, put them down on the deck, and this is my ancestor deck. So
oh,
this is what I use to channel messages from the ancestors during my readings. So I'm going to go with guidance.
guidance.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to go with guidance as well, meditation, self improvement, and your growth. Because I think people looks at the cards as where to go into life, where how to
Mm-hmm.
grow in spirituality and etc. So I would have to say that. So how about you, Nick?
I'm gonna go with shadow work, self healing, and their intended purpose, which is divination. So there's so many really good like inspirational prompt decks, and then there's the opposite where there are some absolutely fantastic decks to deal with trauma work and helping you pick the hard questions and you meditate on them. My biological mom went through one of those decks after my grandmother passed away, and it was unsurmountably healing for her. And then after she was done going through every card in the deck, she burnt them in a ritual and released the ashes of the cards with her mother's ashes to signify that she was ready to move on because she had a lot of trauma that she needed to process with that. Um, and I think that it's an absolutely fantastic use of the cards. Um, and there are so many absolutely beautiful decks out there for anything and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And as readers, I think we can all agree that I could have an entire wall of tarot cards and still not have enough.
Yeah.
Like they all read differently. They're all absolutely gorgeous. And there are now cards that are not tarot cards that are still cards you can read, like rune cards.
Mm-hmm.
Those are nice.
hmm I was looking for a set for a while because I like the style of doing tarot spreads, but it's not always, or the imagery on the cards is large.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easier for some people if I'm doing video readings for them to see what I pulled. So I like them for that, and these are holographic and they're really pretty too.
Yeah, I love my holographic deck.
I guess it's back to me, I think. When you do a reading for someone, what questions come up more often that they want to know? For me, it's I think is he my soulmate, or is she my wife or husband? We say that, or girlfriend boyfriend. Is he my soulmate? Um, that is a question that I kind of think. I mean, I take every question seriously, okay, but with that one, it's just like, can you come up with something better than that? I think things in life is more important than to know if that person is your soulmate or not. How about you, Nick?
I have mixed feelings on this because my one of the most common questions I get asked is, "Will my ex come back to me?" Baby, no, no. They shouldn't be called exes. They're called Ys. Why did you do that to yourself? Why did you go through that? Why did you date them?
Mm-hmm.
Um, my least favorite reading. I also am leery of doing fertility readings. I can be convinced to do them, but it's kind of the same boat with doing medical reads for me. Like, I don't like doing it. I'm not a medical professional. I cannot give you medical advice. And tarot is not a great avenue for that either.
Right.
Also, the broad, like, WTF is going on in my life in, like, any sense. Like, people generally ask for readings when, like, shit just hit the fan, and they're like, what in the ever living hell is going on? And how do I get out of it?
Mm-hmm.
I think those are my most common.
Yeah.
How about you, Tiffany?
Hmm. Is XYZ my twin flame? Will XYZ make time for me? How is my money gonna turn out?
Yeah.
If they're not asking about love, they're asking about money. When am I gonna get the new job? When is the new contract gonna come in? Yeah, I've got. Is this person safe to do business with? And I just read them what I tell them, read them what I see, and wish them the best.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
interviews on cards is like, what's this person like? Do they like me? Are they a good person to do business with?
Mm-hmm.
Am I
Exactly.
gonna get a new job? Or I'm going for an interview. How's my interview gonna go? Yep.
Yeah.
hmm Yep.
Yeah. The cards ain't um, the best way to tell somebody what they want to know right now. It's more or less what's going to happen. you know. And we'll be getting into that the way I used to teach about the seasons of the cards. Tiff, I think the next question is yours, hon.
Next question's on me.
Yep,
Okay, give me a second. Sorry, I'm shuffling through my decks here.
that's okay.
When you do a reading for oh, we just did that one. What's the strangest? Oh, this is a good one. What's the strangest or most difficult question someone has asked you in a reading? Hobbies. I was effing floored. Hobbies. I was in all my 28 years of reading tarot, I've never pulled on hobbies. It's like, girl, you got me for 3 minutes because I was doing online at the time. I was doing hotline. Like, girl, you got me for 3 minutes. Like, the cards want to tell you, they have something important to tell you. And it's that you're in the wrong career path. And she was like kind of hot and cold on that. Like, okay, man, she was kind of cool on that. Like, man, whatever. And I'm like, okay, well, is there anything else you want to know? What sort of hobbies should I take up? Needlepoint? I don't know. I mean, I was so stunned. It wasn't until after she hung up the call that I was like, well, shoot. I mean, she had the King of Swords. So cross stitch, writing,
Crocheting.
crocheting, hermit, meditating.
Write that book.
Yeah, write that book. Like, I was floored. Because it was so mundane. I had never. It's like asking the tarot, "What you got me for 3 minutes? What do you want to know? Yeah, what should I wear today?
Oh,
Yeah. Like I don't. The fool. Wear rainbow colors. I don't know.
yeah.
But yeah, it floored me. I didn't know what to say.
I think probably the strangest one is, should I go to this party tonight?
Mm,
Hmm.
okay.
It's like, okay, should you go to this party tonight? I can tell you maybe what's going to happen in the next month or so, but right now, hey, if you want to go, go. If you don't have to. The cards cannot tell you, oh no, you can't go to the party. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
unless you have something like, like the tower or the death card or something, oh yeah, going to this party might change your life or something.
Right.
It's
Yeah, people sign their lives over to tarot.
I know.
I
That's
noticed
a
that.
huge issue with
They
the new
will. They need
cards.
to know everything. Like, should I go on the date with this guy? And I just
Yeah.
put the cards down and I was like, you don't just go, just live your life.
Yeah.
I wrote an entire article on like using tarot and like the dangers of like using it in a mundane sense of like what should I eat for breakfast. Like if you're pulling tarot cards and you're not doing it like in a professional setting like 4 or 5 times a day, like why? Like once in the morning I understand like how's my day gonna go?
Exactly.
Or if something's going on and be like, hey, this has been really weird, what the hell? Like
Mhm.
that I understand. But like if you're pulling cards like for just absolutely anything and everything, your deck's not gonna know what you want to answer.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could be getting like scrambled messages, all kinds of stuff, and it's a yes, it's a tool, but it's something that we need to hold like reverence for because we're getting a peek into things that we're not really supposed to,
Exactly.
and you don't want to anger the things behind that as much as possible
True.
Or
because they control your fate as much as they let you see it. They're the
Mhm.
ones that weave the fate. So, um, mine, I had to read tarot for somebody's dog. They wanted to know what was going on with the dog. So I had to do like a pet psychic moment. And I'm sitting there like, I guess, I guess we'll do it. So I put out the cards and I put a dog treat behind him and the dog bapped at the cards and like the dog picked the cards and I'm sitting there like, okay, first off, impressive. And I pull him and like the dog was like lacking creativity, lacking stimulation. It's like you don't take the dog out, and the dog needs more toys, needs more stimulation. Like you need to play with the dog. You're sitting him at home, he's bored. And then um, the other ones were like the fool, like the dog wants to go travel, the dog wants to go out, and I'm sitting there like these are all things that like should be common sense. But I'm sitting there like it was just so weird. There's like, can you do a tarot reading for my dog? And I'm sitting there, I'm not a pet psychic. Like I don't advertise myself to be a pet psychic. I barely advertise myself to be a psychic. Well, I do the things. Like I'm not. I have the mindset that anybody can learn to do mediumship, be psychic, read tarot cards. Like anybody can learn to do it. You're not. You can be good at it, and that can be a gift. But anybody can do it. Some people are bad at it as well, but it's not like I'm special because I can pick up a deck of cards and tell you what's going on. It's the cards that are special, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I believe each card has its own unique like spirit to it. So, I agree with that 100%. It's the cards that are special. And one thing I want to add in real quick too is if you're asking questions repeatedly, repeated questions over and over and over again all throughout the day, like Nick, was giving the example of, you can also invite some mischievous spirits, unwittingly be inviting mischievous spirits in because they get that sense of, oh, this person's uncertain, this person's insecure, so let's pull on all of their little insecurities and magnify those with each reading. So if you keep your readings focused and if you're disciplined in it, then you tend to connect with a higher vibration when you pull.
And
Mhm.
that's why we cleanse our decks. You cleanse your space that you're doing readings in. You cleanse yourself when you're done.
Yep.
Because sometimes now I'm not saying that every time that you're going to do tarot that like something's going to mess with you, but like some people are more prone to getting messed with. And when you repeatedly do that, there's a possibility. And I'm not saying that it's like demons or like things like that, but not everything has your highest good in its mind's frame. Not everything wants the best for you.
True.
And sometimes things just want attention and they want to mess with you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very true. Very true.
But the next one we have question wise is, do you read for yourself? If yes, any advice, tips, or warnings? So I do read for myself occasionally, especially like if it's a weird day, or I do a weekly tarot poll to see how my week's going to go, if there's any surprises coming up. We already talked about my warnings of like overdoing tarot. My advice is, especially if you're new to tarot, pull a card a day or once a week, and whether you have to look up the meaning or pull it up online, study the card, work with that card, get to know it, and then move on to the next card. This is one of the best ways to learn. Like, treat them like flashcards. And
Mm-hmm.
especially if you get one of those learning decks, the card will tell you on its face what they're used for.
Yeah.
And as far as tips go, I absolutely love putting a labradorite or an amethyst in with my tarot cards to help keep them charged, but also to help boost the connection between me and them. And I'll put that stone in my pocket when I do readings.
I think for me, uh, yes, I do readings for myself. Not every day, not every week. I used to a long time ago, but after about 20 years, you kind of like, okay, I'm done with that, unless I really want to. Um, but I rather do readings for others because I think I get I get better readings off them. I know myself too good, so I try to like, oh, this card doesn't mean this right now. I'm one of those people that you would hate to read for because reading for myself, I'm like that. It's like, no, no, no. Um, so yeah, I used to, but I don't do it too much unless I have to. How about you, Tiff?
I absolutely read for myself. That's how I got started. Although I think most of us probably got started reading for ourselves.
Right.
But yeah, I absolutely read for myself. I like to read for myself because it's an exercise in um, disimpassioned reading. Like Chrissy was saying, you know yourself too well, so sometimes you might not always want to see the messages for what they are. But I make myself focus on the cards and actually contemplate what the meanings are that I have learned, what the interpretations are that I have learned, and to put them together, however many cards I've pulled, look for congruent meanings across the cards
Mhm.
and get my personal message that way.
Yep.
And yeah, so and then whatever message it is, I accept it. That teaches me to be a disimpassioned tarot reader, so that if I can read for myself without getting emotional, then I can read for other people. If I can be real with myself when I'm reading the cards, then I'm more comfortable being real with other people too, especially when I have to deliver quote unquote bad news.
Yeah, very true.
The one thing I wanted to add, um, I did this when I first started out, and I still do it when I do readings for myself. I will write down what my question was, or like what I'm wanting to know about, the cards I got, and then their meanings, like what I got from the cards. And then I will leave like half a page blank, and then I will revisit those. And once, like, I'll do a check in and be like, okay, like, it's happened. No, it hasn't. It wasn't what I expected. Like, this is the outcome of the reading.
Yep.
And it kind of gives you that self validation that, like, yes, it's working, but the timelines are always different, where it's like, you may get a tarot reading and you might not see that come in for a month, 3 months, a year, sometimes longer. It could be the following week. I had one where I did a reading and it happened the next day, and I was like, wow, thanks for the warning. But it it's really dependent, and I like to give myself that space, just like with my spell work too, is like I'll write down all the information, the spell I did, what I did, and when I did it, and then I leave like parts to do check-ins so that I can check for, do I need to rework this? How's it going? Is it moving too slow? Did it work? Did it not work? How do I fix this?
I used to do that too when I had a business and I used to have a clientele, my regulars. I will have them keep a journal of the cards that we read. So that way, when they come back, and they always come back pretty much every month or every 6 weeks sometimes, we would go back and see if something has changed in their life or if something is corresponding to what the cards was telling them last time. Um, they always like doing that. They always like to keep a spiritual tarot journal to see how things are progressing and everything. The next question we have: what is one thing you should never do in a tarot session? Oh,
I can name
answer your phone.
I can
I
name
have actually had somebody who read cards to me one time, and the person's phone rang, and she stopped right in the middle of the reading to answer her phone. And I'm just like, it's like you lose focus, I think.
Yeah.
So I do not want any interference. I want in a quiet room without kids or other people. just me and the person I'm reading for, and just focus on that. That's it. How about you, Tiff?
One thing you should never do in a tarot reading is lie.
Oh,
You
of
should
course.
never lie. Don't just tell people what they want to hear.
Right.
Don't just tell people, oh, yeah, he's going to start making time for you. Don't just tell people, oh, yeah, you're going to win the lottery.
Yeah.
Don't lie. And don't sugarcoat things along those same lines. Don't sugarcoat things either. Like if you see something concerning, like you have to speak from your heart. You have to, this is why doing one-on-one readings really can be intimidating, because people will ask questions like, is he cheating on me? You know? And it's like, here we go. Hope I'm right. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
but I'm not just gonna be like, oh yeah, he totally is. F that guy. Or just to stir the pot. Or if I see something problematic, you know, I have to say what the cards are. I have to tell you what I see. Like it's an integrity thing with me. So, don't lie.
Very true. Always be honest. Don't tell somebody, "Oh yeah, you're going to get married to this guy you're dating
Yeah,
for 3 months."
exactly.
Oh, so yeah, yeah. Honesty is the best. How about you, Nick?
So there's a lady in town that does readings, and she has a bit of a reputation. So when she does readings, if she pulls certain cards, she has to restart her reading timer, which she charges by for the session. So you buy a tarot reading from this lady, she draws certain cards, and now she's milking you for like double, triple, quadruple the money that you're supposed to be paying her. And it's extremely unethical, and I absolutely hate it. Please don't do that. If you go over the time limit, take your loss.
Yep.
And sometimes spirit's got more to tell than you've allotted time for, and that's why um, I have what I'd consider pretty low prices. But I'll do clarifying cards. I'll do within reason. I'm not gonna go pull like 50 clarifying cards for somebody. Like if you need one or two clarifying cards, I'm not gonna charge you for that. If you need if there's more information coming through than what my timer is allowing, I'm going to finish that and then apologize to the next client if I have one after that. Be like, hey, I'm so sorry that ran late, but I'm not going to overcharge somebody for it. And I know that not everybody charges for tarot, but if you do, like, be respectful of people's time and money. Like, they're here for advice. They're not here to have you milk them for everything that they're worth. They need advice and they need help. And while your time is important, don't screw people for it.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. Yep. Tiffany, I think we have the last question going to you to start out with.
Okay. Give me a second. Come on. Where's it at? Where's it at? Sorry, guys. I have it pulled up and then it's not pulled up.
That's okay.
Hold on, Chrissy. I know what I'm doing wrong here.
That's okay.
Okay. What would you say to someone who wants to start reading tarot? Do you have any deck recommendations for a newbie? Well, certainly. So yeah, get yourself any deck that says beginner deck, because beginner decks are the ones that have the interpretations printed on the cards.
Right.
So you don't have to spend your time trying to bounce back and forth between books are good for when you've got time to go in depth and you're studying your deck. But if you're doing a reading, I think it's nice to have the interpretations printed on the card. Um, I would recommend keeping a tarot journal,
Mhm.
um, writing down what your questions are, writing down what responses you get, revisiting them. Because if you're finding that your predictions are not manifesting, then maybe that's a sign that it's time for you to get deeper with your interpretations. You need to be more esoteric.
Mhm.
So let's say you're getting the lovers a lot and you're like, oh, okay, a new love's going to come into my life, but it's been 6 months and there's no new lover coming into your life. Okay, well, maybe the cards are speaking to something more esoteric. So the lovers can also mean balancing your inner masculine and feminine energies. So once your inner masculine and feminine energies are balanced, you won't feel so love hungry. You won't feel so needy for outside validation,
Mhm.
right? Which then has the positive benefit of making you an energetic match for a true love. So there you have it. But that's just one example that I can give right off the bat. Sometimes we need to go deeper than the surface level. But when you're a beginner, just, you know, work on what I would recommend doing is getting like 3 or 4 keywords for each card in your head, so that when you're reading at a glance, you're like, oh, okay, 2 of Pentacles, balance, um, resolutions, juggling. Okay, so maybe I'm going to be juggling a lot in the next coming days, but I'm going to be able to balance everything, so get
Mhm.
just a couple keywords in your head, and then you can build upon those keywords as you gain experience.
Exactly. Nick, how about you?
So I agree. As far as for somebody who wants to start reading tarot, pick up a deck. Again, Rider Waite Tarot is kind of the greatest place to start. You
Mm-hmm.
can get into Oracle decks or Laramond or any of the other styles of decks after, but Rider Waite is kind of your most prolific. It's kind of our gold standard. And as far as a deck recommendation goes, um, there's a brand called King's Palace that has a beginner Rider Waite tarot deck, and it has the card your Rider Waite image in the middle. And then on all 4 corners of the card, or along the edges, it's got everything from your astrology to if it's a yes or no card, the number of the card, reversed, your upright. Um, it's got its element correspondences, and then it's got just a synopsis on the side of like this is like an overview of the card. Um, they're pretty, they're affordable. They're like $10, and for tarot cards, they're cheap. Even if it's an Asian reprint, like one of the mass-produced decks, it's accessible, it's affordable, it's somewhere that's a decent place to start.
Right.
And as you get more comfortable, you can move into prettier, more expensive decks. Um, and even look on Etsy and things like that. Once you get comfortable, there are some absolutely beautiful, beautiful deck artists. And you can make your own. There are,
Yes, make your
I
own.
need to figure out. I was watching a lady who was making tarot cards, like the images for her tarot cards digitally,
Mhm.
and she was building her own deck. So she was making cards that were relevant to her life in an oracle deck. And they're crass. They were like relevant for her life and like sayings that she has and things like that. And it was absolutely hilarious. But like, what a fantastic way to have a quick, easy read for yourself than to make your own oracle cards or something like that. And if you can't afford to buy a deck, um, make witchy friends. Honestly, there's one of the things that I love about the witchy community is there's a huge gift giving like thing in the community. We share the love, we share the wealth. Um, and the common misconception: you do not have to be gifted your first tarot deck. You don't have to be gifted any tarot deck to use it for it to work right. You can buy your tarot deck. I have bought almost all of my tarot decks, besides the ones that I've inherited from friends and family as gifts, or when somebody's like, hey, my kid got into this, they didn't want them, you do witchy things, here, have all of their stuff.
Yep.
That happens a lot too, where it's like, I don't want this witchcraft in my house, take it. And so I've inherited some, and then I'll redistribute them. I have friends that are like, hey, I'm kind of interested in doing this. Hey, I have a basket of tarot cards that I'm never going to read because they're not for me, or I don't like the theme of them. And it's just like, if you like any of these, please take one, take several. Like, we have them lying around.
Mm-hmm.
And like, those are the ones that I use in spell work too. Like, if another good thing is if you buy from a metaphysical shop, sometimes, not always. I know mine does this. They will sell individual cards from decks. So if you lose one of yours, if it gets damaged, if you bought the deck from them, ask them if they sell individual cards. That way, if your toddler ripped one, you spilled a cup of water over the cards you were reading, whatever, you damaged part of your deck, you lost a card, the cat took it, whatever, they may be able to help you replace them. You may not have to buy a whole new deck. And in some cases, that deck might be discontinued. You may not ever find that deck again. Because I know some people that, like, I still have the first deck that I got. That's not everybody has that. Um, and I'm pretty sure I may have lost cards from it over time, but I still have it. I haven't counted to see if it's a full deck, but I've moved with it, and I think the deck's still being made. So if I want to read with it, I may go look for some of the cards, but I've lost the box. I've lost the book to it. I just have the physical cards in a little bag somewhere, sitting in the bottom of my house altar. But yeah, and I know some people that they will buy like 5 copies of the same deck. They love this deck. They love the art of it. That's what reads well for them, and they will buy multiples because if they're reading with it enough, they will wear through them.
Yeah, I've worn through my favorite deck. It's the Modern Day Witches Tarot holographic. I've played with it so much that every single card is creased. Like they're all bent, and it's so hard for me to shuffle. Like I've had to retire them from my channel because they're so hard to shuffle because they're all bent. So I mostly just use them for personal readings now. But yeah, that's definitely a deck I'd buy a second one of.
I totally understand because my favorite deck is also, unfortunately, my largest deck for my hands. So shuffling it is a pain in my butt. But they're absolutely gorgeous. But that's something else to consider when you're buying tarot decks.
Yeah.
How big are your hands? How did the deck feel in your hands? Like, can you easily shuffle this? And I mean, there's plenty of methods to shuffling.
I was just going to say, learn a couple different ways to shuffle too.
That might honestly be part of the reason that tarot is not my favorite divination, just because I'm a terrible shuffler. And I think that it's easier for me to use other methods that I don't have to sit there and mess with something for 15 minutes trying to make sure it's mixed up to read it, depending on the deck.
Yeah.
But if I was smart, I would shuffle the deck before I put it back, so then I can just ask my question, or knock, ask my question, and do it. But I don't.
I shuffle my decks habitually because I read somewhere that shuffling your deck is a good way to cleanse it.
Yep.
So I just constantly shuffle them, put them in my hands. I'm always fidgeting, shuffling my cards. I'll shuffle them 3 or 4 times after a reading, 3 or 4 times before a reading, 3 or 4 times during a reading. Like I'm constantly moving them.
Well, if you think about it, you're manually shifting the energy, so you're there's a concept that like negative energy is way more than positive do. So while you're shuffling, they're falling down into your lap, and then when you get up when you're done and you brush off your lap,
Yeah,
there goes your negativity.
there it goes.
I have to say, everything you guys both said is good advice. That's pretty much the same advice I would give you too.
Hey,
You know, always have the cards
hello.
kind of pick you, pick them up, and see if you feel something to the cards. Don't go by, oh, it's so pretty, I want them. Go by how they feel to
Hey,
you.
hey,
Oh, hang on. The
hey.
big man has to say
Sidelines,
something.
sidelines.
Yes.
Never tell somebody that somebody's going to die, or look at the person and say you're going to die with it. You know what
Oh,
I'm saying? Never tell somebody that.
okay.
Oh yeah,
Never.
that
Uh,
will.
Even if
The
you
human
choose
brain
to.
is
Don't
weird.
tell.
he
You
said, never tell anybody you're going to die, which that's, that's good advice too. Don't
yeah,
say, oh, you're going to die.
the death card rarely means physical death.
Right.
It's
Yeah, it has
generally
to be
the death
paired
of
with
a
other
situation.
cards.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's generally the death of a situation. Something's changing, things like that. It can mean like physical death. That's not something that I will generally interpret for somebody, and I do agree with that. Where it's like, hey, you know, you're gonna have a lot of change coming in, and what that means for you is not for me to find out. And let them come back and be like, "Hey, my grandma passed away." Oh,
Yeah, very true.
that's
Um,
a lot of change.
it is. I think we did a really good Q&As on the Tarot Talk tonight too. Um, some more advice or stories. I have a story like I was telling you guys at the beginning. Um, Sometimes doing a reading to somebody that doesn't take it seriously. You think, oh, this is entertainment. Let's hire the witch to come to the party, have her do tarot readings or something. That's happened to me in my
Mhm.
20s, I think, my late 20s. That happened to me. I have been reading cards for probably a good 7 years, probably 5 or 7 years. So I went to this co-worker's party, and she got a reading, and in the reading, because when I do my reading, I do the third eye. I kind of like do kind of a mediumship too, in a way. I can see things, and through the card, and this card of her spread was telling me that somebody's going to come and needs to talk to her, and she does not need to turn them away. She needs to listen to them. I told her this. I even got this vision of an R, of a letter R. And I said, do you know anybody with the first name that starts with an R or a last name? Nope. She says, nope, nobody. Are you sure? She goes, no. I go, well, this person is going to come to you and they will need to talk to you. So you really have to listen, or it can change a lot of things in your life. And she didn't take it seriously or nothing. So about probably 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later, her brother in law committed suicide.
Mm.
And his name began with an R, his first name. And she came up where we was working and she just laid into me. I mean, she just called me every name in the book, just laid into me. Like, how, why didn't you tell me? So I listened to her side of the story. Excuse me, I got a bad cough here. And I said, I think I did tell you. You said that you did not know anybody with the first or last name of the letter R. And second of all, I told you to listen to them, not turn them away. If your brother-in-law came to your husband and you to ask something really important, and you guys was having a party and you turn them away because no, I got to be with my friends. That's on you. So she thought about it. She was mad at me for a long time, but then she thought about it. So probably about 6, 7 months later, she came back and apologized to me. But at that moment, I I knew it wasn't me to be to blame, but it really made you feel bad, that you read cards to somebody and they don't take it seriously. They take it like, oh, Miss Cleo or something,
Mhm.
Oh, it's just nothing. Has that ever happened to you guys?
Um, I pulled on somebody's friends, and so they didn't get mad at me, but I have made a couple people cry during readings, and I have to say that was one of the greatest confirmations that I ever got because the reading just hit home so deeply that I was like, I knew I was on the right track. Like I pulled for this one friend in college, and as I'm pulling the cards, I told her, I'm like, I'm like, it's looking like you're having some problems, some issues surrounding friendship. Like you don't really know who your real friends are and if you can trust these people. And she just put her head down and just had these tears coming down. And she was like, yeah, that's my bandmates. Sometimes I wonder if they really care about me as a person or if I'm just like, an accessory in the band for them.
Yeah.
And, and I'd like, yeah, it's looking like these, don't put too much stock into the friendships. Like I advised her, I'm like, keep it surface level, keep it fun. Don't go into these relationships with your bandmates with a whole lot of expectation, you
Sure.
know, and because they just weren't willing to pour into her the way she was wanting to pour into them. And I'm glad that I gave her that message so she wouldn't waste her beautiful energy pouring into people who wouldn't pour into
Yeah.
her.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Reading cards with somebody, for somebody is awesome. I love doing it. I just wish people we take her kind of like serious, but yet not too serious, because with the moon phases and the seasons, the cards can change. It can really change, and I keep telling everybody that because how I took a class one time back in my 20s about how to read cards. Um, like the wands. The teacher taught me that the wands means days or 3 months. That the swords means weeks or 6 months. Cups is like months to 9 months. And the pinnacles is like a year or years.
yep.
And, that's how I taught my students too about the season. So, it changes. Cards can change. If you want to get a reading each month, yeah, I advise it. Go ahead, get a reading each month if you want to.
Just write it down.
Yeah,
Write down what you get so that you can
yeah.
go
Always keep
check it.
Yeah, always keep a journal if you're doing the cards for yourself or someone else is reading the cards for you. Always write down everything to because it's nice to go back and see, what's going on, what's happening, what progress and everything, what didn't progress. So yeah, I would highly suggest that.
Very much so.
And Nick, do you have anything to say?
Yep. That's why I like using like TikTok when I'm doing lives to do readings. Is that when I end my live, I can go in and I can snatch my recording,
Mhm.
and then I can cut out the readings for people and send them to them. So if I know you, I can send you the recording of the reading.
Yeah.
So you have exactly what I said, and you can go back and reference it and be like, "Oh, right, that did come and happen."
Mhm.
That's one of my favorite things. Like you get somebody to come do a reading, and then they come back like the following week or whatever, send you a message like, "Hey, it happened." Like I absolutely love that. For the good, the bad, and it just helps validate me as a person. Where it's like, "Hey,
Yeah.
I'm doing a good thing."
Yeah.
Um, because we all want to be accurate, we all want to be
Mhm.
truthful, and sometimes things take a while.
Yeah.
But you can do. There's so many weird things you can do with tarot cards too, where um, like using them for spell work and
Yes.
Mhm.
I love using tarot for spell work.
Yeah.
Somebody said on the so I didn't want to come across as like snarky or snooty, so I just kept my fingers to myself. I didn't say anything on. But somebody posted in the Facebook group within the cauldron, for those of you who may be listening and aren't members of the Facebook group.
you're right down here in the bottom within the cauldron on Facebook.
Yep.
Uh,
Join us.
and somebody said that it was really difficult to do tarot spellcraft. And I read that and I was like, don't think so at all. Like,
I have to agree. Yeah.
I have to, I'm like super difficult. Like maybe this person's just overthinking it because when I'm trying to manifest something, I turn to my tarot deck,
Yep.
flip through, find the card that most encapsulates, most embodies what I want. I
Mhm.
take it, I have a magic mirror, I set it, my magic mirror is propped up, I set it
Mhm.
against the mirror, light a candle in front of it so I get like, the atmosphere and I've got the reflection
The
of the
vibes.
flame, the flames reflecting off the card and off the mirror, and I just kind of put myself into a trance. I come up with a real quick little incantation, something that rhymes, a real quick little incantation, and I just
Mhm.
focus on the card, repeat the incantation at least 9 times, and voila. Oh, where'd Chrissy go? We lost Chrissy. Or I've taken tarot cards and I've laid them out around in a big circle. Like literally, I've cast a circle with tarot
Mhm.
and, and called the corners and did my spellcraft within my tarot's
Oh yeah.
circle of cards. So yeah, I love using tarot cards in spell work.
We even have so in folk magic there's a specific charm that's called the 54 devils, which
Okay.
invokes it, and by devils it's not referring to like actual demons, it's referring to the spirits of the cards.
Yes.
um and it's invoking the whole set of cards. One second, let me pull Chrissy back up. I don't think she can pull herself up, but
Yeah.
it invokes all of the cards, and you can then pull whatever card you need to out. So if I was using a regular tarot deck, it'd be the, what is it, 78
Yeah.
devils versus the 54 playing cards. And then I'm going to go pull the card out. So it's a chant to wake up the card, and then I'm going to go light my candle or set the card down, put my candle on top of it, and then do the work I need to. I typically, if I'm pulling a card out to do a spell, it's probably Justice, my Justice card, or the Wheel of Fate. Those, I use those a lot. I use the Strength card a lot for healing spells too, especially if somebody's going through a difficult time. If they've got a family member passing, something like that, that emotional strength for the family
Mm-hmm.
um,
Yep.
during those times, those are the ones that I normally go for. Um, the one that I want to experiment with is using like the Nine of Swords in some nasty things, just to give people like a road closer. There's a road opening spells, but we don't talk about closing somebody's roads.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I'm sitting there like, sometimes people. One of my mentors has a metaphor about the cosmic frying pan, which is this concept of the universe will keep coming at you with something until you learn a lesson. and they start with a feather, they move up to a finger, they move up and keep moving up until they have a big cast iron skillet and they're about to cold cock you with it.
Mhm.
Yep.
I want to use the frying pan on somebody at some point.
Mhm.
I just for like science.
Just for science. Yeah, I've had to fight. Okay, this is going to sound terrible, you guys. So I know people sometimes say, like, well, if you need religion to make you a good person, you're not a good person. Okay, then fine, I'm not a good person. Because I have had to fight the urge to turn people into my magical guinea pigs just to see if the magic works. And the reason I do not effing do that is because I am a Wiccan and there are certain rules of magical conduct that comes with Wicca. So as much as I would love to just throw everything in my magical jar at somebody, I try to have restraint.
There's ways
It's
around
not
that.
nice.
There's a lot of ways around that.
Mhm.
There's
From
a
a
lot
Wiccan
of ways
point of view.
around that.
Yep,
There are.
there is.
So they call it a forced healing spell. You're not forcing their will. You're forcing the circumstances around them for them to learn that lesson that they really need to learn. Is a good payback kind of thing, or blessing the people around them to see them how they really are, or things that don't directly hurt somebody but they're inconveniencing. Like your car battery not starting, or just like the petty things. Or like somebody's a problem, you can always just the one that I was told from a Wiccan lady is that she would do two candles. The one is you, the other candle's the problem. You write your names on them, and then you start them right next to each other. She did this with glass pillars, and then she would slowly start moving their candle farther and farther away. And then once it got to the edge of the table, she would do a circle of blessing around it where she would bless them. And she would bless them with uh, a new job somewhere far away from her, or a new house, a new opportunity somewhere away from her, so that
Mhm.
they're not being harmed by it, but she's getting exactly what she wants out of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but I'm a dual-handed folk practitioner, and I won't do anything that's not justified or to anybody that doesn't deserve it. I don't just go willy-nilly throwing things at people that do not earnestly deserve it. But there are certain individuals that have done things that I use as guinea pigs. I'm not I'm not afraid to admit that. There are some very low scummy people that there's an entire registry, if you get my drift, of people with all the information you need to do anything for that, and pictures. Um, if I need to test some kind of awful, awful spell, I will find one of those and I will try it. And I prefer to do it the ones that are closest to me so that I can check up on it.
Okay.
But yeah, like if that's an option if you go on the like gray side or like into the darker things. But there are plenty of ways. My favorite way to like abide by the Wiccan read and not directly harm somebody is I will find out their like grandmother's name, so preferably their like oldest female relative that has passed away, like their grandmother, their great grandma, their great aunt, and I will go look up their obituary by searching that person's name, and I will go pull out the Ouija board and I will talk to them. And I will tell them what a shitty person that person is, and that they need to go handle their like whatever that
Well, handle
relation
your
is.
descendant.
Mhm.
And because with spirit work, my view on it is I'm not responsible for what that does. They have their own free will and their own agency. I am just the messenger. If I'm working with a spirit, I take no blame on what happens to them for that. I'm not responsible for what grandma's going to do to you.
I
Because you
just
know she's
do.
gonna drag them by the ear.
I think I just do mostly. I just watch my words, what I
Mhm.
say.
You gotta be real careful about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I have done justice magic against people that I know deserves it. Um, only if I know they deserve it. But how I word it is a little bit different. I don't actually, you know, direct it to them. I let the gods decide. You
Mhm.
know, I talk to
I
the
like to
gods,
offer them up for a judgment.
right?
Mhm.
And I word it, and it's just up to them. I
Mhm.
just kind of put the bug in the air. That's it,
Now,
and probably get the intention started.
if I'm doing it for a client, and so if you want me to do baneful work, I require a 4 paragraph essay on what happened,
Yeah.
why you want me to do it, what this person did, and I need then I'm gonna go contact that person if I can and get their side, and then make my determination if I'm willing to do it. Now, if that's not something I can do, and with most of my baneful work, I put in a clause in my incantation that if I've been misled and hired under false pretenses,
Hmm.
and that this person does not truly deserve this, that it will return to the person who has requested me to do this 3 times.
Okay.
Because you now paid me to hurt somebody who's done nothing to you and doesn't deserve it. You're the bad person.
I can see that.
So you get to enjoy the thing that you wished me to do to somebody else.
Hmm.
It's like
I want somebody's permission to just do like good magic for them, like
Yeah.
just to see if it works. Like because with Wicca you have to ideally you have to get somebody's permission before you do spellcraft. So you might think like, oh wow, I'm going to do a money spell for my friend because they're really
Do it.
down and out.
Do it.
Well,
That's my
no
favorite thing is that if I
permission.
get permission from people to do it, I do blessings and money spells, luck spells, and self love spells on friends all the time. And I've had friends who we stopped being friends and then they message me like, "Hey, my life went really bad after that. Did you hex me or something?" No, no, I pulled everything that I did for you back.
Ah,
That's just your life.
Hmm.
Or but in our Discord group there is a ask for help. Put in an advert there that you're willing to do healing work or protections and things like that.
okay.
Um that's kind of what I made that for, was for people to ask for advice, people to, I've got a witchy problem, I need help with this, or we get healing requests, and that may be something too that we can talk about is when we get a healing request, we can forward that information to you too,
Yeah.
if that's something you're comfortable with.
We haven't done a healing request for a long time. Well, I was on vacation for a couple of weeks though too.
Mhm.
Um, I'll probably do that tomorrow in the group, because it hasn't been done for a long time, and it's a good time of year
Mhm.
to ask for healing requests too, as well.
It's a good time to do
So
psycho pump work too.
Yep.
A lot of people pass in the fall.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I'll probably do that tomorrow. It's hard to come up within the cauldron. It's hard to come up with questions. I don't. I like to have at least 4 or 5 a week, and I know Nick and we try our best. I come up
What
with
about
some.
a
I come up
healer
with
roll
some of the
call?
morning.
Mhm. Let's
Yes.
do a healer roll call on it where it's hey, tell me what you do.
Yeah.
Where's the healers at? What do you do?
Yeah.
Do you want to be a part of a collective thing where I can make a tag on the Discord group for healers that we can
Mhm.
ping, and then if I can make a special chat that you have to have that tag to get into and see, so we can post information. Be hey, we received that this person needs healing or prayers or
Right.
protection or whatever, and what's going on, and we
Yeah.
get the permission and we can go ham.
Yeah. We should do that for like readers too,
Yeah,
business owners and stuff. I
I
was going
think
to do it
I
for
have.
business and got too busy myself.
I have a reader tag, I think.
Do you?
I just haven't made like a tarot room. Um, but also like on ours, if you use the voice chat, if you hop into the voice chat and do what is it, the forward slash, and then type pull card, the bot that I use to assign roles will pull tarot cards for you too. So if you need
Oh,
to do a tarot pull on the fly, it can do that. It'll do that. Dice reading, yes or no questions. And if you need a bump of serotonin, you can do slash cat or dog, if I remember right. And it'll give you an adorable picture of a kitty or puppy. You know, sometimes you scroll through something you see on the internet and you just need some eye bleach.
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And also, if I think if you do slash quack, it will quack at you.
Oh. I have to
It'll make
check
you
it out
consider
more.
quacking.
Our life gets so busy, and
Mhm.
sometimes you're just like, "Oh my gosh, I got all this on my plate, and I should take care of it, but I don't." And then he's like, "Okay, I gotta figure out my priorities here."
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, I concentrate too, probably a lot on the podcast and with guests, getting guests, networking, and everything. And I think I concentrate a lot on within the cauldron Facebook group on questions or something to ask.
Mhm.
Try to get everybody to participate, which it's touch and go. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't.
Oh
But
yeah.
if you ever go in within the cauldron, you are more than welcome to post anything. It does get pre-approved. We only have a few that can post things automatic without getting pre-approved. That's because we know them for a very, very long time.
Yeah,
Very long.
they've been
We
vetted. We
trust
know
them.
they're not a problem. They're not going to post
Right.
anything crazy, and
Right.
it helps us like protect our community. Where it
Yeah.
minimizes the spam bots, which are absolutely everywhere,
I
and
know.
um, helps us curate content. Because,
Mm-hmm.
well, I like, obviously I have no issue with baneful magic and things like that sort when it's
Yeah.
deserved, but you you have to be careful about who you give that information to. As
Exactly.
far as like, I'm not just gonna go post like some of the most horrific spells that I have in our
Hmm.
group. I'll do them, but it's not something that I freely share very often
Right.
because I'm giving people a responsibility and a means to do things that they may abuse,
Hmm.
and I am responsible for holding that information.
Right.
Now, if somebody comes to me and is like, "Hey, there's like this really awful situation," and I might suggest something,
Yeah.
but I'm not gonna just be like, "Hey, all of the people that haven't practiced witchcraft yet before, the first thing that you want to do is go like put your eggs in an awful, awful sour jar and throw it in the bottom of a lake or something." Like,
Right.
no, no, we're not gonna start there.
Yeah.
But
That that's
on
very
our
true.
Facebook group, there's a file section. Check that out. We have a bunch of fantastic resources. There's like papers on different divination systems. I got some meditations in there, different correspondences and things. I'm going to be uploading some herbal references
Oh, cool.
on how to make like medicinal things like herbal salves, extractions, um, and post a couple on there that are kind of useful. I'm going to post a burn cream recipe, and I might post my pain cream in there just because with the weather starting to turn, people getting
Mhm.
achy.
Hmm.
Yeah. All cold remedies and
Yeah, fire
um,
cider and the
mhm.
onion syrup, stuff like that. Yep. Oregano tinctures for cold season because the antimicrobial, like gargling with oregano tea,
Mhm.
especially if you make it really strong, is really, really good for your mouth and really, really good to help
Yep.
keep all the crud away. Is if you mix it with echinacea.
So what
There's
Nick is saying is join our Facebook group
join
in the
and
call.
learn about herbs with
Yeah. It's a
and
family
oh,
Facebook group that we
mm,
started 2 years ago, and now we got the podcast, so join the group and listen to the
mm,
podcast each week if you want to. Um, that is probably the end of our podcast for tonight. Um, I know I have a sore throat. um, next week, November 1st, not Thursday, but Friday, the day after Samhain, since Samhain covens, we celebrate and stuff. So November 1st, we're having our first paranormal podcast. And Tiffany will be back for that as well, because I know she has some
Yay.
story. We also have a couple other people from the members of Within the Cauldrons going to come on and speak as well. So, with probably the four of us, the host and Tiffany and two others, we are going to be on the panel and talk about different stories. So join us. If you have a story, please comment and tell us your story. And you never know, we might just drag you onto the panel and talk
oh
about it.
yeah,
But to keep the podcast alive, please subscribe, subscribe.
like
Okay?
share us out,
There.
show us your witchy friends.
Yep.
Yeah.
You guys are the only reason that we can keep doing this.
Yeah.
Help us
And
grow and
yep.
expect us to stick around. And you can find us as well. Tiffany is Green Fairy Tarot on YouTube. Check her channel out. We
Yeah.
also have a Discord within our Facebook group that you can join as well. And then you can also find me on TikTok under at Crystal Heathen. I do readings, post folk magic educational content, and then occasionally just shoot the breeze. And then Chrissy, you can find her on our channel here and within the Cauldron on Facebook and Discord.
Yeah. And to subscribe, um we do have a great lineup for the rest of the year, with some special guests, authors, and musicians going on to the next year too. I'm very excited about that because we probably have enough guests to last us till June. So
Mm-hmm.
we're trying to limit the guests to two times a month. So it give us a chance to come on here and discuss about magical stuff and paranormal stuff. And I just want to say thank you for Tiffany for joining us. I'm excited for you to join us next week too, as well.
I'm excited too. Thank you. I'm
Yeah.
back a second time. I got some good stories. I got some
Mm-hmm.
spooky ass stories.
Oh, good, good.
Yeah.
And you might see Tiffany on once in a while. Um, as a stand-in. She's very knowledgeable as well. But I'm gonna let everybody go tonight. Blessed be, many blessings, and have a great Samhain. And subscribe. Thank you. Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you guys. Have a great
Bye.
night. Stay blessed, less stressed,
Yeah,
and
that's true.
have a fantastic Halloween, Samhain, and Final Harvest.
Yep.
Very
Everything.
true. Blessings.
Bless and be
Bye.
everybody.